Okay, so welcome to the camping trip profile. So what we're going to do here is we are going to create another profile, but before we get started creating a profile, we have to understand what is happening in this map. This map is a little bit tricky, it's a little bit complicated, so we want to make sure that we truly understand kind of what's happening on this particular diagram. So the first thing we're going to do is we got to kind of orient ourselves. So we can see that we have a peak or a summit right here. So this, we know we're going up in elevation here. But we can also see that this index contour, so index contours are darkened lines, usually about every fifth line, so you can see this one's darker. And those are helpful because they help you kind of pick out the actual elevation. So notice that not all the lines on here are marked, only certain ones are marked. So here we have a 600 line. So we know that even though there's a little bit of a peak or a ridge right here, that it's actually increasing as we go into this southeast quadrant or the southeast section of our diagram. So then we need to kind of figure out what's happening on this back side of the map over here. So one of the clues we actually have is that we have a stream. So we have this 500 line. We're going to kind of follow this 500 line all the way around. So we know that this line right here is also 500. And again, all I did was kind of follow this 500 line all the way around, which is kind of an unusual line, to right here. And then we have to figure out, are we going down or up over here? Because we need to kind of know what our elevation of point P would be. So we can see that we have a stream. So this stream is going to create what are called this V pattern. And the V's are always going to point to a higher elevation. So we know the water came from this elevation and then it's flowing to a lower elevation. So this stream is actually flowing out of Hidden Lake, which is kind of unusual. So a lot of times you have water flowing into a lake. This time we actually have water flowing out of the lake. So again, here's Hidden Lake, and this is our higher elevation. So the water's pointing to where it came from. It actually came from Hidden Lake, and it's actually flowing northwards out of Hidden Lake, which is kind of unusual. So therefore, we know that if this is going down, and we're actually counting by 20 feet in this case, so if this is 500 and we're going down, that makes this 480, and that makes this line 460, which is kind of unusual. And that's actually going to be really helpful for when we make our profile going from transect line P to Q down here, down below. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is, just like we did before in our first example, we have our index card, and I'm just going to fold mine up because I already have some tick marks on here from the last example. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and line up my index card from P to Q. I'm going to put the tip of my index card on P, that way that point's already done for me. And I'm going to go ahead and transfer every time a contour line hits my index card, I'm going to make a tick mark. And so all I'm doing again is just a series of kindergarten skills, kind of lumping them all together. So every time one of these contour lines hit my index card, I went ahead and just made a little tick mark, a little tally mark onto that line. So then what we're going to do is we're going to bring down all those tally marks down to the bottom line of our profile. So we're going to go ahead and transfer those lines over. So again, I'm putting the tip of my index card here because this line matched up there and this is where I started. And we're going to go ahead and transfer each of those tick marks onto the bottom line. And so it gets a little crazy over here. We got a lot of tick marks going on, and that one should match up there. So each of those tick marks should match up with what I have pulled from here. So I'm going to move my index card just for a minute. And then because there's so many lines, I think guidelines are helpful. This is an optional step. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I do feel that it is helpful to try and keep all those crazy lines straight. So notice that P and P have already matched up, so we are good there. So we're going to go ahead and connect this line here to that first line there. We're going to connect this line here to this first line there, and we're going to keep on going. So I'm going to remove this in just 1 second to kind of show you. So again, this is all we're doing is we're connecting this tick mark should match up with this one. This one should match up with this one, and we're creating those guidelines just to help us keep all those little lines straight, because there sure are a bunch of them this time. So we're going to go ahead and a little bit off there. That's all right. And keep on going, okay? So again, all we're doing is connecting each of those tick marks to our tick marks that we made. So we're just going to keep on going. And so there are a lot of lines going on here. So we'll start to get a little hairy kind of as we continue. And that's why the guidelines are extremely helpful when you are first starting. We got last one, guys. There you go. All right, so, and then Q should match up with Q. So here's the cool part. They actually already went ahead and put in our contour or our elevations, our contour lines. So we know we're counting by 20 feet, right? So not only did they do point P for us, so notice that this is the 500 line right here. So I'm gonna follow that 500 line. So we're somewhere between 500 and 520, and they went ahead and put that point there. So again, we're between 500 and 520. Because this next line would have been 520. So we're going to go ahead and, since we know the next line, if this is 500, this line has to be 520. I'm going to follow my guideline all the way down. I'm going to plot my first point on the 520 line. So 500, 520, 540. So I'm going to take this line and I'm going to go ahead and put it on the 540 line right here. So then we got 500, 520, 540, 560, because again, we're going up to a summit and we're counting by 20s. So here's my 560 line right here. So 500, 520, 540, 560, 580. So we're going to follow this one down to the 580 line right there. And then we know that we have a darkened index contour line. And so again, we're counting by 20s, so 500, 20, 40, 60, 80, 600. So this is the 600 line. So I'm gonna go ahead and plot my point right there. And then we hit the 600 line again, because it's still on that darkened index contour line. So I'm gonna plot another 600 line right here. And then we're starting to go back off our mountain, right? So again, we've got 500, 520, 540, 560, 580. So this one should be on the 580 line. 20, 40, 60. So this one right here should be on the 560 line. 20, 40. So 500, 520, 540. So this next one should be on the 540 line, and it indeed is. Then we're going back down. So that one should be on the 500, 520 line. So we're going to go right here. And then notice that Q is dead on the 500 line, because this is our 500 line right here. So that one has already been done for us on the 500 line. Then the last step is to always connect your dots. So we're going to go ahead and connect our dots, creating our little ridge summit right there, and we're going to go back down. And notice that you have now created a 3D image of this flat map. So notice the lines are closer together here. That kind of represents right here how it shows it being steeper. The lines are further apart here, which means that it's less steep. So if you were going hiking up this mountain, if you wanted a nice gentle hike, you would go up this side of the mountain because that would be a more gentle slope. If you were looking for a really steep ski trip, or you like adventure and you really wanted a hard workout, then you would definitely either be skiing down the slope here if you wanted an advanced course, or you could hike up it for a really good cardio exercise. And again, if you're just learning to ski or just learning to bike, you would probably want to go the more gentle route over here. And again, you can tell that because these lines are spaced further apart. Congratulations, guys. That is your second topographic profile.